Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Start Somewhere, the podcast. My name is Isabel, and this is an episode that I want you to be able to plug in and listen to no matter the day, the week, the time, the month, the season of the year. And that is all about the reset. I really am such a believer we don't need to wait for a new day, for Monday, a new week, a new month, even a whole new year to reset, to change things, to completely shift everything, or maybe even just one or two things in our life. And that is so much of what Start Somewhere is also all about. Like, you can find me more often than not creating a whole new whatever for myself on a Wednesday, or deciding to change a bunch of my goals mid-month. Like, I don't wait for these, timely moments to change things up. And I know in the Southern Hemisphere, we're entering spring. And so spring cleaning is commonly what is associated with this time of year. And I feel, especially as I'm recording this, we are in Virgo season, which is all about creating these new shifts for us, these new routines. And it's grounding energy. And so we often feel inclined to do these things. And I know in the Northern Hemisphere, they're entering autumn and it's not that kind of vibe, right? And so just like random side note, I am here to remind yourself to take control of this in your life. So I'm going to go down a certain layer of talking about what we're consuming in regards to resetting our life. And what I mean by this is being mindful of the information and the energy that we're consuming, ultimately, which is what will help you foster a more authentic and fulfilling life. Okay, so let's dissect this for a moment. If we can observe rather than absorb the opinions and the pressures of people and just life around us. So somebody gives us an opinion, whether we ask for it or not, and more often than not, if it comes from somebody that we value and respect, we really take that on board. And we really listen to that. And perhaps we absorb it rather than observing it. So by doing too much absorbing and not enough observing, we are creating a life that is not true to ourselves. So it's not authentic. And I really want this episode and what I'm about to share to encourage you to trust that inner voice. And it's actually very simple to do this. There was a moment about a year ago where I did not trust my own judgment about a particular situation. And it's interesting because I got the first instinct, I got this first inclination of this situation, and it wasn't good. However, I pushed it down. I thought, no, that's not what I want to be hearing. That's not what I want to be experiencing, I've gone through enough shit. Like, I don't want this to be negative. And so I pushed it down and I continued on. And I was gaining the insights, which now I can see was the approval of others that this situation was in fact a good thing. And this was the biggest test from the universe, because the people around me told me it was fine, told me it was good. And it wasn't until so much later that I realized that actually wasn't the truth. And be sure to tune into the previous episode because this is really going to follow here. Now that I have this beautiful piece, this beautiful key of hindsight, I'm seeing things from a whole different perspective in terms of me not honoring my intuition and my first thoughts. And I look back now and I see how my intuition was silently screaming at me, okay? The difference between intuition and fear, so intuition and like that chatty noise in your mind, your intuition is soft and delicate. It's quiet. It doesn't yell at you like that. Whereas fear and overthinking, think of it like it comes from the front of your mind, whereas intuition is at the back of your mind, okay? And yeah, it's harder to get to this, like, I'm putting my hand behind my head now. It's harder to get to your intuition behind your head, okay? Think of it like this. Think of it like it's deeper in your mind. So it's harder to get there. It's not surface, right? Like what overthinking is. Which is why meditation is so powerful, because it really helps us unlock this and go deeper and see things clearly and see things for what they are. And the reason I'm sharing this is because if we can mindfully monitor what we are consuming, making sure we are observing, not absorbing, because at the end of the day, we all have too much to say. That was such a cute little rhyme there. Totally did not plan that. Maybe I did. Okay? I mean, I'm on a podcast talking for like 20 minutes every single episode for 100 episodes. Like, we all have too much to say, and that's not bad or wrong. But be mindful on who you are consuming words from, because there will always be criticism from people who don't quite get it or don't quite understand why you decide to do a certain thing, to be or act in a certain way. But yet often it's these pressures from the peers, from the people, from even the loved ones around us that we let dictate our next life move. Whether it's somebody in our life sharing the same roof as us, or that random person on Instagram that we so desperately want their likes and approval from. But what sort of a life is that? But what sort of a life would you live if every move you make was purely based on the opinions of others? Not a very authentic one, right? It's not authentic to you. And it's important to learn and to know you either win or you learn. You can trust your head or your heart, okay? So your heart, your intuition, or your head, that chatter, that overthinking, that fear, that worry, that doubt, that anxiety. Or you can learn to trust your body, okay? Giving you a whole another layer here. So there's a book I'm sure a lot of you have heard about. It's called Your Body Keeps Score. And I haven't read the whole thing, so I won't give my viewpoint. But it essentially says it in the title. Your body will literally repel or reject when something is no longer for you. Your body will quietly and clearly show you what is true versus what is hanging out in your sweet mind. So next time you're faced at a crossroad or a decision, or you just want to know true intentions, if something is truly for you, take a moment just to drop into your body. And if you're viewing us on YouTube, you can see now I've got one hand on my heart and you have one hand on your belly. And just think of what that moment is. Ask yourself the question, whatever is the best approach for the situation. And just see how your body responds. And it's quite simple. Does your body either A, restrict, right? It feels contracted. It feels like, like maybe you're really holding onto your stomach, or you're tensing, or you're just not relaxed. Or B, number 2, can you release? Is it relaxed? Is it trustworthy? And so hold on with me here. Because at the end of the day, right, like it's you and your mindset against everything. And so if you can choose to water your mindset, water your inside world, create this garden for yourself, feed it the good stuff, fuel it the good stuff, banish the not so good stuff. And if you can choose to lean in, to learn to love yourself, to be able to look into your reflection and be so happy with who you are, how you look, where your life is going, what you're doing. Okay, maybe not right now, but you can see glimpses of the future. Remember, tune into last week's episode and I said aligning your current reality with your future self. Like maybe your life right now isn't at all that fab, but you have this really beautiful, huge vision for yourself, and that is what is driving you. That is enough, okay? Because it's fine to not always be loving every single second of our life. In fact, that's normal. So normal. Really should be normalized even more. But let's normalize it and also actively always be working towards creating a better life for ourselves. And I'm not sure whether people just create this to be controversial, but I see this a bit online on YouTube and LinkedIn. Side note, I'm like a full LinkedIn queen at the moment. I'm obsessed. Where people love to hate on self-development. And what I mean by this is people say that by stopping consuming self-development content, books, podcasts like this, videos, etc., it's harmful to consume too much of that. Funny, I'm actually bringing this up right now based on this whole episode about mindful consumption. Yes, too much of anything is bad, okay? Too much exercise is bad. Too much chocolate is bad. Too much unhealthy food is bad. Too much super healthy food is bad because you sometimes just want a piece of chocolate. So too much of anything is bad, okay? But I think people who actively are working towards improving their life and consuming this self-development content, I really feel like we should all be doing that, to be honest. Because I really feel like, and this is going to get quite spiritual, so please come along on the ride with me, what I'm about to say. I really believe that we come into this life and we get given a bunch of different lessons and people and connections and challenges and wins and beautiful experiences for us to grow, for us to evolve as humans. Like, think of life as a game, and we get to the next level, we get to the next checkpoint once we can learn lessons. And like, think about when you're dating somebody. It's like pretty profound if you think about it. You either will A, spend the rest of your life with this person, or B, break up with them. And so like, it's risky entering a relationship for that reason. Same with a friendship, same with a job, same with insert so many other situations. And the reason I share these things is because, one, we can all relate to them, but two, I just feel that we come to this life, we are in this body, we are who we are to learn the lessons that we need to learn for our internal, spiritual, mental, physical growth, okay? And we get dealt different lessons. All of us have different experiences. Maybe you have a friend that has been with her boyfriend since she was 14 and they're engaged and they're about to get married and that's it, okay? Or maybe you have a friend that has been single for as long as you can remember and they just can't seem to find somebody. Two very different circumstances. Clearly, both of these individuals different and they have different lessons to learn. And remember, nobody, and I say this with love, nobody is going to save you. Yes, you have community and support and friends and this podcast and what I'm sharing and your loved ones around you. You have all of that. But imagine if you can be your own best friend, right? Your own nurturing mother, your own protective father, your biggest cheerleader. Imagine if you can be all of that for yourself. And that's not to disregard the people around you that actually do wear those hats. But imagine if instead you just start to choose to water your inside world by really monitoring what you're consuming, being mindful. So I'm going to share 3 key points here, which we've really just been foreshadowing a lot, but I'm going to give you some action because we're all about starting somewhere, okay? So number 1, this is something my boss reminded me of, is mindful consumption. So paying attention to what you allow into your mind and body, whether it's media, conversations, opinions of others, so what we're observing versus absorbing. Not everything deserves your attention or your energy. By observing rather than absorbing, you are protecting your mental health. You're maintaining control over your inner mind. Saying no is a sentence. Choosing not to reply or to respond to somebody is perfectly fine. And I think more often than not, When we realize that the only thing that's getting in the way of us getting all the things we want, I know I just said more often than not, but more often than not is what we are thinking and telling ourselves as to why we can't have this thing. It's that conflict. We're choosing to stay stuck for a reason. And, if you do feel stuck in a certain area of your life, so this is what shadow work is. I'll just briefly introduce this for a moment. Think about if there is a challenge or the situation that you feel stuck in your life, ask yourself, what am I gaining by staying stuck in this experience? What part of me is actually enjoying being here? And you're probably like, okay, Isabel, no part of it. That's why I don't want to be here. But that is where it's, dare I say, wrong, okay? Because there is a part of you, clearly subconsciously, because we can't see it straight away, that is actually gaining something from this. Maybe it's the attention. Maybe it's the fact we like to dwell on problems. We as humans, we're adaptable creatures, and everybody doesn't mind a little bit of drama. It adds a bit of spice, a bit of excitement into your life, and maybe that's what it's giving you, okay? Think about, I'm at a point in my life where I'm in bed by 9 p.m. I'm very mindfully being on social media these days. I am waking up early. I'm just completely minding my own business. And there is next to no drama in my life. Whereas 6 months ago, my life was drama upon drama. And it took me a while to kind of come out of that and to be like, ooh, things are actually going really well right now. There's nothing ruffling my feathers. There's nothing I need to be worrying about outside of my normal daily routine, outside of looking after myself and living my life and seeing people I love and doing those things, okay? And it was really interesting because it's like where I could take a step back and use this piece of hindsight I keep referring to, where I'm like, oh, actually, it's because my nervous system has been so used to operating in a certain way, and now it's not. And it's almost like it's having this, I don't know if this is the right word to describe it, but withdrawal, okay? But instead I'm like, oh my gosh, I turn my light off, put my phone down, go under the covers at 8:45 sometimes, and the first words I say are fuck yes. I love this. I'm so happy to be doing this right now at this time because it's peace, it's relaxing, it's quiet, I'm done. There's nothing to worry about. And it's beautiful. And it's because I'm mindfully consuming. I'm observing rather than absorbing. I'm protecting myself, protecting my energy. Boundaries are a huge theme in my life at the moment, and I thought I had bold boundaries. I love alliterations, they're so fun. I thought I had bold boundaries, but they are just getting bigger and bolder. And I love that, and I'm not scared to set them. I'm not scared to say no. I'm not scared to not reply to something. I'm not scared to not take on an offer. But before, I would always think, it was almost like a bit of a scarcity or lack mindset, being like, oh, well, if I don't do this, then what? I saw this TikTok. I know I don't use TikTok. It came up, someone sent it to me. I don't think I preach things and do the opposite. And yet again, I give really simple examples just because they're really fun and I feel a lot of us can relate to them. And the TikTok was where a girl was saying that her ex-boyfriend followed her back or refollowed her on Instagram. And then her friend was like, oh, well, what did you do? And the girl said, well, I followed him back because I felt bad. And then the friend got so mad at her, and it was just this funny skit. And it's see, the reason I share this is because we think, oh, they followed me back. I better do the same thing out of scarcity, out of lack, out of whatever that is. And I love this, and I always remind myself this. Okay, we know one door closes, another opens. But where can you create and carve out more space in your life for these things to come in? And sometimes that looks like saying no. That looks like not responding, not replying, not accepting, because you're creating not just the physical space, but the energetic space, the emotional space, okay? And just remind yourself, you're doing this to protect yourself. And we should be doing that. We all should be doing that more and more and more. And that comes by setting these boundaries. Number 2, this is like, I have like, oh my God, in my notes, I have give example of the quiz night. Okay, this is a funny story. So I was at this quiz night a while ago. A side note, quiz nights are actually rather fun. It was really bougie. It was at the Hilton Hotel, and it was like this beautiful like 5-course dinner, like all this lovely wine. And anyway, it was a quiz night and there were prizes to be won, and it was very fun actually. And I had the buzzer. I had the responsibility of the buzzer in one round, and I was like, oh shit, this is a big deal. And I'm at the table with all these other people. I'm the youngest by like 10 years as well, just like side note, just to kind of paint the picture. And I forgot the question, but it came up and I was like, oh, it's red. The person next to me said, no, it's blue. It's someone else. No, it's green. It's yellow. It's this. And I was like, no, guys, I know it's red. I know it. But I caved and I listened to the person next to me, and you best believe I got it wrong. And then I said, oh my gosh, I knew it was red. I knew it was the first one. And then the person next to me, he says, Isabel, you have to trust yourself. And I'm like, oh, damn. Like that is the reminder I needed. Trusting your intuition, trusting that inner voice, okay? Observing, not absorbing. So learn to trust the signals over the external pressures, okay? Your path should be guided by your inner truth, by this authentic life I keep referring to, not by the expectations or the judgments of others. And living authentically, living this authentic life is what is going to help it feel easeful, is what is going to help it feel abundant and fruitful and fun and more of this being energy that I spoke a lot about in last week's episode as well. And number 3, the third key point, I want you to ask yourself, how can you put yourself first? So a big theme in my life, which I'm sure you've picked up on throughout this episode and the episodes I've been releasing since coming back to the podcast, coming back to the show. And let's start simple. In true start somewhere Isabel style. Right now, what are things you can do? Maybe it looks like unfollowing people on social media. Deleting photos that you don't need anymore in your camera roll, whatever it is. Choosing people who choose you. Because this is unlocking self-love, whilst also complementing authenticity. By embracing this journey of self-love, of self-acceptance, of accepting where you are right now, even if it's not exactly where you want to be, even if life isn't all you want it to be right now, but you're actively working towards and creating the life that you want to step into. This means you are being your own biggest cheerleader, your biggest supporter. You're setting these boundaries, you're honoring yourself. You're living a life that aligns with your values. You're thinking, what is this future version of me doing, being, having, acting, etc.? How can you align with her, with him right now? Maybe it looks like choosing a different option for your lunch, okay? Maybe it looks like prepping your food at home, not buying it all the time. Maybe it looks like doing more intermittent fasting. Maybe it looks like mixing up your routine, your exercise routine, going for runs once a week, going to bed earlier, reading books. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm just describing me. Maybe it's all those things. Maybe it's none of those things. Maybe it's something completely different. What's authentic to you, okay? Think of it like that. Because you're responsible for your well-being, for your happiness. It's you. Nobody's going to come and save you. Nobody's going to come and say, hi, here's a house, here's this, here's that, here's the perfect job, here's the perfect relationship. That doesn't happen. Start today, okay? If you're the only thing you're getting from this episode right now is that I want you to start today, making a conscious choice about who and what you let into your life and at what speed, at what pace that is as well. Let's continue this conversation, continue this journey by tuning into the recent Start Summer episodes if you have not already, by sharing them with other people in your life I know that you will benefit from hearing these messages, because more often than not, something you get from this episode might be very different from what somebody else gets. And if you're still with me as we are at the end of this episode, I really thank you for hanging out with me for the past